The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Sean Herron, and it's, as always, my pleasure to introduce our panel tonight. First up, we've got the owner and founder of No Other Choice Firearms Training and the man behind Aiming for the Truth, a community outreach program that's growing rapidly and having a profound impact. Kevin Dixie, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me back, man.
Glad to have you. Next up, the prophet of Philadelphia and founder of Black Guns Matter, Toure. Welcome.
What's up, Sean? What's up, KD?
Glad to have both of you guys. And let's get right into it. Before anything else, let me just mention Patriot Patch Company. Go to patriotpatch.co and join their Patch of the Month Club. Give them a check out. And first story, guys, LMT is leaving Illinois after 40 years to a more gun-friendly Iowa. We're seeing this kind of Illinois just passed some crazy stuff that makes being an FFL much, much more difficult in Iowa. And I think we're going to see pretty much a mass exodus of companies that are leaving for greener pastures. Iowa did a lot of things that made it easier for them to move their tax incentives and all kinds of other stuff. But it's not surprising for me to see people leaving Illinois. Maj, what do you think?
I think it's two things. One, on what level is good because, you know, you're going to be able to see businesses and thrive in different places that want the business. My concern is long-term. My concern is this is setting up a thought process of as soon as companies or state governments attempt to make it a little bit more difficult, we tend to bounce. For example, you know, shouts to South Dakota for just becoming constitutional carry. There's some states that are, you know, in alignment with those freedoms, but at the same time, it's looking like as you travel around the country, it's looking like we just concentrating ourselves in certain states. And I don't like feeling boxed in. You know what I mean? When it comes to that, I don't want my freedoms to feel claustrophobic at the fuck all. You know what I'm saying? So that's my long-term concern. On my short-term concern, as you know, as a business owner, you know, you go where you could get the work, you know, or you could get your work off and with the least, you know, headaches. So I love them for that. But I think it's time we sue some states like more often and more regularly. You know, so it's bittersweet, but for those people in Iowa that's going to get the jobs, and any people, even the companies that will be able to still do things a lot smoother, and you know, it's love for them in the short term game.
Kevin,
You know, I'm going to echo those sentiments, and I think that the duality is a little complex, right? Because I look at it like this. The people in Illinois, everybody, all the employees might not be able to move, right? So now you got some employees that have to get into different jobs, maybe go unemployed. For the ones that do leave, then they have the expenses of picking up family, getting kids in different schools. It's the middle of the year. You know, it's a lot going on. It's a lot of logistics involved. So for those families, I would say first that, you know, I hope the best for them. And when it comes to Illinois, I'm with Maj on the whole. You know, we don't want to be cornered in 5 states in the country. We're easier to attack that way, right? Because then all you got to do is attack those 5 centers. And it's something that we need to take into consideration. At the same time, Illinois needs a punch in the throat. Mm-hmm. You know, and nothing gets anybody's attention like affecting their money. So, you know, you have Springfield there. You obviously, you know, LMT is moving, Rock River. You know, and I understand that the gun industry is not keeping that state afloat, but that state is already suffering financially, right? So it goes to show to the ignorance of the leaders in that state that are allowing more tax revenue, tax dollars to leave because they want to enforce unconstitutional laws. You are literally like shooting yourself in the foot, you know, by allowing that to happen. And on the broader scale of things, I think that the Second Amendment community as a whole, companies and all, do need to get more forceful with pushing back. Because if we keep allowing people to write legislation to make us move and to make us quiver and cower, then guess what they're going to keep doing? Keep writing.
Man, my thing is, man, fuck fighting, fuck pushing back. We always on some reactionary shit. We always on some Johnny come lately. For us to be It's like, it's amazing. If this was the street, and if we the person or the people with the guns, why are we always getting stuck up? You know what I'm saying? And so it feel like that to me. I feel like I did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about, I mean, I ain't go full Jaeger, but it was like, yo, there needs to be like some fucking violence happening. And everybody, and the gun podcast guys got afraid. The conversation was, to get some context, the conversation was in reference to, like, well, if the politics and policies aren't working, and we're talking about red flag laws and red flag states and things of that nature, because that's happening across the country too. When they asked me what would stop some of that, I'm like, violence, like shoot people, like that's what will stop it. And everybody got fucking skittish, and it's like that mentality of, well, because we liberty-minded people, I'm not gonna mess with anybody until somebody messes with me. You getting messed with. So I think we kind of on some pussy shit. If I'm being honest, like it ain't. Thomas Jefferson said it was supposed to pop off every 19 years. We ain't do shit with all of the guns in the world, all of the fucking training and all of this and all of that. So I just think that pushback shit is a little too late. It's time to go offensive. That's my view.
And it's always kind of a common one. It's like, what is the line and what is too far? And I think that line just keeps getting pushed back. And I know a lot of people are having that same sentiment that you are, Mosh.
Ain't nobody. It's like Future got a line in one of his songs. I think it was fucking some comments. I don't know what song it is, but anyway, what he said was, you got all them guns. How come ain't nobody popped up dead? Now he was talking about street shit, and it's kind of like the same sentiment though. It's like, and then when me or somebody else says it, or anybody says it at whatever particular point in time, that person seems to be calling for the end of like modern civilization. No, we calling for the preservation of modern civilization. That's violence. That's it. All of this other shit that we keep talking about, the other side is hit. All we're going to do is make memes, show up at a state capitol. We're not going to threaten none of the politicians with getting rid of their jobs. We not, if we showing up at the state capitals. So if they could just write well, it's illegal to have this, and I want to comply. I want to be a law-abiding citizen. Man, shut the fuck up. Slavery was legal. Like, shut up. Shut up. We just saying shit. We collectively, we just saying shit. So that's my position on it. I don't know. I didn't expect to be alive this long. So, and I'm a little bit frustrated. So maybe that's what it is. But maybe I need a nap or some shit.
Well, I was going to ask a question, and someone who's watching live just said the same thing. How do you balance the I'm a responsible gun owner, we're the safest people in the country, with we need to shoot that guy in the face because tyranny?
Well, you know what? I'll go ahead, Mike. You good. One thing I would say, there's the middle piece missing. Amaj kind of hinted to it. Don't be the guy that sits on your butt at home and oils up your gun and makes memes and then skip right over to, well, when do I become violent? What are you doing in the middle? And see, that's where I push a lot of people at. Like, maybe if you did threaten their jobs and actually got people fired, maybe if you did actually show up in force, because see, to me, the community is lazy. The culture is lazy. And and it could be a thing about where you come from, because where I come from, we wanted something done. We got it popping. We did it. We didn't just sit around and say, oh, we're going to. And even with those state capitol rallies, you have these things, and some of these guys really pump or promote these events. You got 200 people show up, right? And y'all Congress people still got jobs. Your local politicians still got jobs. You can fire them. Thus, if you fire them, you might not have to fire your weapon to protect your rights.
Right.
If you get the right people in office. So the reason why it seems like we're having to skip over the middle and start thinking about the ultimate consequence is because you aren't working in the middle collectively, as Maj was saying. You sit around, we do memes, we yell, we hype. That's why I tell people online all day, man, look, I'm not going back and forth with y'all. Because while you out here just typing, people out here working, and you think putting up a meme or sharing a scary story from some kind of confiscation of guns is all it is needs to be done. But you aren't out rallying, getting people hyped. Hell, to be honest with you, Sean, we can't even get people diverse enough in thought to accept the millions of people that would be open if they would just open their damn minds and be accepted. The problem with the 2A community that can't get the fighting force is they believe that having people included means excluding who they are. You want 1 million new gun owners, you got 1 million new personalities, 1 million new backgrounds. a million new opinions. Gun owners want people to conform to who they are. They don't want to accept diversity. But the other side is all about, we don't care who you are. Are you about what we about? Cool, come on in.
Yeah. The other side know how to create a culture of church. Church is like, in the black community especially, is a big sentence is come as you are. You know what I'm saying? They know how to present that shit. Even if they don't got no facts, they just know how to appeal to feelings. And so, I don't know. My friends is felons, so we don't really give a fuck. So, all right.
I've always been saying, and people are going to get sick of hearing me say this, but there's like 3 keys to fighting for the Second Amendment. There's advocacy, which you guys are out there doing all the time. It's just getting off your ass and getting out there and actually doing something, showing up, sending letters, but more importantly, like being at your state capitol when people are trying to push dumb crap through. And advocacy is the most important thing until we get people to get off their asses. And like Kevin just said, to actually open their minds a little bit. Like me, like I'm just about as libertarian as it gets. I think people should defend their weed and abortions with AR-15s, with, you know, like while they're doing whatever. Like, as long as it's not hurting me, I'm pretty much fine with it. And so after advocacy, then we've got lobbying, which is, you know, there's not really too many lobbying groups. Honestly, NRA is the biggest lobbying arm. Love them, hate them, whatever. We've got that lobbying. And then after that, when lobbying and advocacy fail, we've got litigation. And that doesn't even do a whole lot of good. Someone brought it up in the chat, and Alex again. And the bottom line is we had a pretty good advocacy here in Colorado in 2013 when the mag ban was about to be put into place, and that didn't do anything for us. We had a ton of lobbying, and then that failed for us. But then afterwards, we did some litigation, and we were able to recall 2 senators. Even the head of our Colorado Senate, we were able to recall him and one other. They lost their jobs because of it. But guess what? We still have mag bans in there because litigation doesn't work. So if we don't do the advocacy, if we don't have the lobbying, nothing else matters. We can file lawsuits all day long. That shit takes years to get through.
Yep. And then now you got a space where everybody's confused, especially on the entry level. Everybody's in at that point confused about, even if you get something overturned. I know cops that will lie and say a thing is illegal that's not. And if you're the general public and you misinform, so now it's that confusion of is this, is that, and this, you know, is it fake news? Is it not fake news? I just think more people gotta get shot, man. That's just where I'm at with it. Maybe again, I just think nobody's doing anything, and nobody's getting shot or threatened to get shot, or nobody's, you know, we can't even. I mean, y'all heard the talking point. That's my position. I think if more people understood and looked at it historically, it's like the Sankofa bird. The founding fathers did not create the space. Like, genocide happened. Like, that's to make America. Let's be 100% honest about it. But that's the spoils of war. They're beating, like, they nerds now. They nerds is beating us up with pens. Yeah. It's not even like, it's not even a fight. They don't have to fight. They could just write shit. And nobody gets shot. You smack a nerd in the mouth, it's over. They're never going to do that nerd shit out their basement again. And so we cool with all of the guns, but our liberties, the point that Kev made, which is we say we lazy because we are for liberty. People that are liberty-based and freedom-based go, I don't give a fuck. We have a mentality of, like, we like grumpy old men. Like, yo, you do your shit over there. Just leave me alone. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be over here. So I think that's permeated to the point. But the problem is the same thing that's a tool for liberation can be used as a tool of enslavement. They know very well how to get low, adapt, change up, and reapproach. They get low and keep firing. That's what they do. You know what I mean? They felt like they got beat up in 2016. They did. They had the House and the Senate. We had the House and the Senate. I'm talking about the right, whatever your party is. House and Senate. You couldn't even get fucking, and I'm not a super fan of national concealed carry. I think each state should take its state. I believe that whatever the people of that state want, if they agree to the shit, hey, we want this, you know, on Wednesdays, everybody in the state of Vermont just like slathers themselves in butter. We've put it up to a vote. This is what we want in the state of Vermont. If you come through Vermont, bring your butter for Wednesdays. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's what each state want, then cool. So I'm not even a fan of national carry for certain reasons. But you had the House and you had the Senate, and you ain't get nothing pushed through. And mysteriously, every time the Hearing Protection Act, every time something like that went up, mysteriously, what happened? Somebody got shot.
Shooting, yeah. No, I know.
I think they doing shooting. Why are we not doing no shooting?
I'll move directly to the next story, which is way down the list. Red flag seizures surge nationally as more states adopt the procedure. So the extreme risk protection orders, the ERPOs, and red flag laws, since those have started going into place, which has not even been a full year yet, More than 1,700 orders allowing guns to be seized for weeks, months, or even up to a year were issued in 2018 by the courts after they determined the individuals were a threat to themselves or others. Actual number probably much higher since the data was incomplete and didn't include California, where newly installed Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom has moved swiftly to curtail gun rights. So here we have the exact thing that everyone's been worried about. We've got these extreme risk protection orders, red flag laws going into place, and already 1,700 people without due process, firearms taken.
Man, that, and here is how you know, and I'm not trying to incite one way or another, but here's how you know.
I am.
That I know you are. Here's how you know that the people that sit, and I'm just going to say the meme creators and the ones that just go off online and that's all they do. They're just isolated to that. Here's how you know that they're not about that work. When that gentleman in, it was in Maryland, I think it was a suburb of Baltimore, I think, but it was like a 60-something-year-old man. His sister put ERFO on him, extreme risk protection order. She put that on him. They went there like 5 or 6 in the morning, knocking on his door. He came to the door cooperating because he didn't know what was going on. And then when they told him he was there, he was like, oh, hell no. A struggle ensued. He did lose his life, right? But he fought. And everybody was like, oh, when is the first shot going to take place? It took place in Maryland.
Right.
Months ago.
And nobody did nothing. I was like, when did you guys, even in Maryland, what groups out there stood outside the PD? What groups got rowdy and really stood up? Nobody. And that's even in your local jurisdiction. Nobody, right? It went by peacefully. A couple of memes, couple of stories, couple of, oh, I'm going to, and if you, yeah, all right, man, whatever. But that elderly gentleman was like, no. And all for the sister to come back and say she didn't think he was dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And now everyone says, oh, he is dangerous. I'm like, yeah, well, they're trying to steal his rights.
Fuck, you'd be dangerous too. Like,
yeah,
at that point, that's the whole point. You're supposed to be dangerous at that point. It wasn't he was crazy because he came to the door. What's up? Is anything good? No. Oh, y'all doing that? No, we not good then. You're supposed to get dangerous at that point.
Yeah.
They just convincing us a lot of silly shit because our short-term memory. We got a gang of soy in our diet, and I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. I'm saying we got a gang of stuff in our water, like fluoride. Like we just real passive. And I'm saying me too. I ain't never shot nobody. Like, I mean, I'm gonna say it that way. I ain't never shot nobody in defense of freedom. That type of vibe. We all a part of the community. So it is the exact, that shit is Orwellian. It's right there. That's the 1984 shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's not even a point where like, maybe a few years ago, not even, people could say, oh, y'all just crazy and paranoid, right? We have data, over 1,700 seizures from citizens in less than a year. That is data. You know what I mean? So it ain't a theory no more. It's a conspiracy. It's a bunch of people, a few people working together to an end. That's not a theory. That's in practice. So I don't know, man. I think Yeager was right.
I'm going to keep jumping around because we even mentioned it just a minute ago. One of you guys did, just talking about, conspiracy theories and things like that. And how, Kevin, I believe you referred to how smart the other side is these days. Like they're killing us in every aspect, figuratively, not literally. But so Hawaii, Ninth Circuit has agreed to an en banc rehearing of Hawaii's open carry case. So because the Supreme Court has changed, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said it will revisit whether Hawaii acted lawfully in denying the plaintiff George Young a permit to openly carry a loaded gun in public. They already ruled on it. Now, because if that goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, who pretty much has a pretty good conservative tilt now, overturns that, that is huge, huge, huge. So now they have reopened the case. They're going to rehear it, and I bet money that it comes out the other direction so that this doesn't go to the Supreme Court, so that we cannot now overturn this and have it ripple across the entire United States. Kevin, what do you think?
I think that exactly what you said is correct. So they're not going to let it get to the Supreme Court. They don't want more Supreme Court cases. You don't want more. They don't want that. So whatever we got to do is kind of like a company when you suing them. Let's just go ahead and settle out of court for this goes too far, right? Same kind of philosophy. And I think that when you are considering that all the legal moves and things of that nature, the opposition to what you want to have has people in courts. They have people in Hawaii that have their back. They have people in the mainland United States that have their back. They have plenty of money behind them. And the reason they're going to avoid that loss is because they understand how to think methodically. No, we're going to go ahead and give them this one because we already know they already got a plan 5 or 6 years ahead to reverse this right back anyway. They're progressive in thought, right? And we aren't. So I think that they will. I agree with you. They'll let that go ahead and let's just comp them out real quick. Let's just let that one go. We don't want a Supreme Court case right now. We'll let that ride. But when we come back, we're going to be smarter. We're going to adapt. We're going to use what they used to beat us before to defeat them this time, and they'll get what they want. I just think that's going to be true. We're just not collectively a group of smart individuals.
I think that's partially true, Kev, but I also think this is a clear example of them breaking their own rules. That's what I'm saying. All of these rules, it's like y'all saying these rules. Y'all ruled on it. you did it already.
Yep.
You said this is a bump stock situation. Anyone? You guys already ruled on this. This was the answer. Nothing about the mechanics of this thing had changed. The only other time that's happened was the Eakins accelerator. They said it was cool. Then ATF relisted it because of the fact that, oh, this one has a spring. The bump don't got a spring. Nothing changed, but y'all now ruled this a different way. They don't give a fuck about the rules. They are making them up as they go along. That shit is double jeopardy.
Yep.
That shit is double jeopardy. We said the answer. We chose against this. Now we're going to do it again. So, because RBG dead somewhere and they just haven't said it, right? And we can't let Trump get dead. We let him get 3 Supreme Court judges within a couple of years. It's like he getting 1 every year out this bitch. So in their mind, let's just break this rule over here. Hawaii, the same motherfuckers that last year were talking that, yo, if you got a medical marijuana card, go ahead and turn them guns in.
Yep.
We couldn't get it popping that way. We're gonna switch it up that way. Nah, man. It's the game is rigged. I'm telling y'all, they look like the British. I'm sorry. I know I'm a high school dropout and all of that other shit. They are just making rules up as they go along and switching them. And it's not, so they playing the anti-fuck the rule side, right? They have you on this moral high ground playing I'm a law-abiding citizen rule. At what point is it be like, are we going to just go, yo, this is not right? But at the same time, we the same people talking about those felons who are brave, who are willing to risk their life, clearly, that have changed their life around. We the same people saying those guys shouldn't have the guns. That's the fucking warrior class. We look like nerds.
Yeah.
So it's just another example. They out nerding us. They better at that shit than us.
They are. So here's the thing, man. This is a 2-year-old ruling on this. 2 years, man. 2 years ago, they ruled on this. And now that we have our Supreme Court, they're going to go back and revisit it. I guarantee it comes out. I also heard New York's got this travel case, owners transporting their guns outside their homes. Like you're allowed to go specific places. You're not allowed to travel outside your own city to other places. So if you're a 3-gunner or whatever, you can't, travel to other places. And it looks like they're trying to convince New York lawmakers to actually back their rule off so that case doesn't go to the Supreme Court. And, it's stuff like that. And then of course, as soon as Trump is out of office or whatever happens there, they will put all that stuff just back in place. So
nobody's getting shot.
That dude ain't doing nothing to protect our gun rights anyway. It's the Supreme, the appointments of the people on the Supreme Court. All right, that's cool. I'm not going. All right, as far as guns go, that's cool. No matter how you feel about it, because those are individuals that have a lifetime appointment. But him himself, everybody's like, oh, when he first came in, and forget what party you align with. I'm talking about people that are about freedom and people that aren't.
Right.
When we said, I'm gonna tell you how people shoot themselves figuratively in the foot every time it comes to Trump. We will go around the last 3 or 4 years and say gun control is racist. Everybody would cheer. Trump imparts gun control, and I say what happened to gun control is racist. Everybody got quiet. You know what I mean? And that was without saying anything about the people coming in from Mexico. And leaving out, I never talk about that stuff. But when I say, hey, what about that energy that all gun control is racist, right? See, they don't
quiet as the church mouse.
Man, quiet, because if it's the principle of us standing together and standing strong as a collective, then anybody that stands against us is the opposition, period. I don't care what political party they are. I don't care how much money they have or don't have. You are now the opposition. But you know what? I'm going to tell you what really did it for me. All these individual laws, like what's going on in New York, is really screwed up. But what did it for me to show me that gun owners collectively are showing themselves to be a weak class is with that bump stock. I've seen so many people, A, defending it because Trump was okay with it. If he said it, it's cool, right? It's got to be okay. B, defending it because they're like, oh, well, I couldn't believe the amount of people that were these gun-toting, two-way, Virginia-living folks that were like, well, it kind of does turn it into a machine gun. I'm like, what? Like, even if we go down, if we get into an argument about definitions, you're going to lose, right? So, no, it does not, first of all. Second of all, even if it did, you ain't supposed to be saying that.
Right.
You know? So it's giving people, it showed me that people didn't stand up. They won't stand up. If you won't defend a bump stock, you're not going to squeeze a trigger in a civil war.
Right.
Miss me with that. You won't even say, no, that's not cool. So much so to when people were putting up posts about defending the bump stock, gun people were calling them out for being too patriotic.
I know. It's so stupid. So stupid. But yeah, this Hawaii thing, man, if they don't overturn their previous ruling and it does go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says that you have the right to carry your firearm outside the home and that it's not just to defend home and hearth. I mean, dude, like that it changes everything in this country.
That does.
It changes everything. Oh man. So new bill would strengthen ban on using federal funds for gun registries. This is some good news. I figured I'd change it up just a little bit here, but this is called the GRIP Act, and it would clarify existing law prohibiting the use of federal money by states or local entities for the storage or listing of sensitive personal information related to the legal ownership of firearms. The bill has been endorsed by the NRA. So this is just basically that it would make it harder and make it damn near impossible for anyone to have any form of gun registration according to federal law in the United States. It's not going to pass. I think it has no chance of passing. Maybe 2 years ago, it might have had a chance. It doesn't have a chance now. What do you guys think?
Who you said that's New York?
Let's see. This is I'm looking right now. Trying to find it. I don't see where it is actually. It's been introduced. I don't remember. I don't see which senator introduced it.
I'm thinking that just based on. Tell me why you say you don't think it's going to pass. Just because of the climate?
Yeah, just because of the climate. I think when we had control of the House, when we had control of both, I think that we might have had a chance. But at this point, with all the anti-gun stuff that's going down, I think that this being introduced now, it's not going to go anywhere.
What makes me think it may. Because you said the NRA backs it.
Mm-hmm.
When Cody Wilson was doing his thing, and he was suing, pushing for the suit, the NRA told him he shouldn't do it because they thought he was going to lose it. He was going to lose the case, and it would be a good look. I texted him when I found out about his case. But anyway, when they found out that he was going to do it, they was like, "Yo, this might be a bad look, so we don't really want you to do it." He wound up doing it and won. So to me, it's like they kind of get on things that they know they got some under the table bipartisan support somewhere. So to me, in a weird way, I actually think that might pass just for that fact alone, because they don't really jump into fights that they think they might lose. In my experience, a lot of times, not every time.
It's a good point, man. It's a good point, Kevin.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think that the pessimist part of me is kind of like, man, it's not gonna work. The more positive part of me is like, yeah, and why would you put your name on something that you think has no chance of passing? Like, right? You would just call it what it is and say, hey guys, this sounds good in theory, but it's not going to work. So why waste time? But yeah, I'm hoping that it does. We already have that in Missouri, pretty much, and I'm hoping that I would love to see everybody be able to do that nationwide. It'd be awesome.
Well, we talked just a little bit about states' rights and stuff like that. So, I mean, this would be a federal law disallowing any kind of tracking of Second Amendment purchases or anything, or firearms owners in any way. But still, state law is going to trump that. And I think most of us are pretty much for states' rights instead of the federal government telling every state how to be, right?
Yeah, I think that I'm biased. I'm biased in that because it's times with the Fed getting involved. For me being a black man, fucking Brown versus Board of Education, so forth and so on. There's times where federal people had to get sent in because of whatever. Now, so I'm biased a little bit. I sometimes pick and choose, and I know that's contradictory, right? So yes, in this one, because it falls in our favor, I'm in alignment with it. And again, I know that the NRA ILA, they fight as much as I block them on Instagram and all that other shit right now when I'm mad at them. Still, there's certain things that they do. I got to be objective. There's certain things that they do. They fight people on some bump in the night that we don't even see type vibe. And they're a lobby. The ILA, the Internet Institute for Legislative Action, is a lobbying political group. Don't nothing move in D.C. without some sort of bipartisan whatever. So you're gonna have to cross that out. So to me, when they putting their name on something, they might have thrown a few sacrificial lambs out there. But I'll take this one on the federal level if that's the, you know what I mean, and then go back to the state areas or other areas, even on the federal level that I disagree with some of the moves that they made. I'll do that. But this one fall in our favor, so I'm going to be in alignment with it based on not the climate, but based on the fact that they play a game invisible, like a game of shadows behind leagues and certain doors is, you know, palms is greased and so forth and so on. I would rather have them on our side and agreeing with this one than for them to act like it didn't exist or they didn't see it, because that means they saw it and they don't have nobody in it to fight that rumble.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, I say this all the time. Like, is the NRA perfect? No. Does the executive leadership need to be fired and let go by the board? In my opinion, absolutely. Too many mistakes, too many missteps, too much corruption. They got to go. And that's the board's job, is to get rid of them. But I think there's just too many cowards on the board of directors. There's some good, there's some patriots, but generally a lot of cowards. But here's the bottom line, man. Second Amendment Foundation, lots of litigation. Great. A little bit of lobbying, but not very much. Firearms Policy Coalition lobbies in 4 states. That's not enough. It's not good enough. They're filing some great cases. I support them. I've given both those groups money. Gun Owners of America, their 2018 best hits, 1 case in litigation. The rest of it was just all fluff that didn't matter. One of those things was attending the Iraq Veteran 8888 YouTube shoot. And I'm sorry, that's not good enough for me. I don't want that. But I still donated to GOA because I think that we need them all. Bottom line, the only organization that has the lobbying power that we need to fight all these other people, these nerds, as you keep calling them, these people who are thinking 5 steps ahead of us every time, is the ILA. So if we abandon the ILA, we don't give money to the ILA, we say the NRA is verboten, then all we're doing is shooting ourselves in the foot. Because look, man, advocacy, lobbying, and litigation. We got litigation covered. There's like 3 or 4 groups that are doing a fantastic job. There's only one party in lobbying, and lobbying, to be 100% perfectly clear, is threatening politicians that if they don't do what we want, what our lobby wants, that they're going down and they're not going to be able to serve. They're not going to be able to enrich themselves on the backs of the American taxpayers.
Right. That's what it is. And that, to me, I believe in having that scary shooter around that everybody's scared of.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And that's what they are to me. If I look at them that way, I can be mad at them and still go, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? But if I look at it from a different, and I think that's the part that people miss out. Again, if you're not in D.C., if you're not getting no bills through, if you're not threatening the right people, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just nothing.
Yeah. Kevin, anything to add there?
Oh man, I agree. Yeah, you gotta keep your power where your power is. And I like all the groups too. I like anybody that is trying to do something. I don't care if you start an organization in your basement, but you are really pushing to do good work.
I agree.
I got your back 100%. But we do have to be smart and understand that there are certain people that do certain things, and you might dislike everything that they do. You know, I don't like everything that I do, so I'm not expecting like everything that everybody else does, right? So I think that we do have to make sure that we aren't cannibalizing on ourselves in such a dire time, right? We need people in their positions, and then you know what? When the smoke settles, then maybe we can all come back to the table and chop it up and have a real conversation. Right now, I need my soldiers on the field.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, man, we have people that say they're Second Amendment supporters. We've got these meme pages that do nothing but bag on the NRA. Well, if I was that other side and I was a nerd on that other side, then all I would do is generate memes to take down the biggest threat against what my interests were.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying if I was a strategist on the other side, that's what I'd be doing.
Right.
Anybody on the other side hates my love.
It's like I thought that one time I was super high. I was blasted, right? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, yo, what if all of the anti-NRA, all of the people got, what if the other side are those pages and like making it look like they pro-gun? Again, conspiracy theorists to a degree. and I was blasted. So take that with a grain of salt. My thing is, it would be so strategic to act like you're. It's really a double agent move. Act like I'm a purist. I'm a gun purist, and I got a meme page. You never see my fucking face. Every single person that does something in the community, whether it's that litigation, advocacy, or whatever, right? We start picking and making fun of that person, especially in a space where it's the court of public opinion. I remember thinking that was like, damn, that would be so crazy. I remember starting, and then I started thinking I should make an Instagram page that's attacking me. I should make an Instagram that's attacking Black Guns Matter, and everybody that dislikes me would go to that page, and then I would just know who was disliking me, and it would be funny. I'm not saying I did that. I just said I was high and I thought about it.
Oh, that's funny crap, man. All right, let's change gears just a little bit, get away from some of that stuff. But why medical training is just as important as firearms training. Excellent article came out at guns.com. Did you guys have a chance to read this one?
Did not, sir.
All right, this is by Jackie Billings. It's a little bit selfish that this one is in there. I will say that I didn't put it in the show notes, but I definitely picked it as a story because I think it's important. Like we as a community focus so much on, get your practice in, and then Instagram really idolizes these people who can draw, sub-second and put a shot on steel from their appendix and just look badass while they're doing it, and, pushing the rubber dummies and stepping back and shooting it. 2 in the chest, face gets the rest. But I think not enough time is spent on medical training and things like that. And Jackie Billings posits that theory in this article as well. It's an excellent article. I think we don't spend enough time as a community focusing on medical training. And full disclosure, I teach medical classes all over the United States, just like trauma medicine, and my class is called civilian medical. And the entire second half of the article is pretty much quotes by me about this topic. But I think it's important. I think people are getting interested in it, but I think we still need a pretty big push. And I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Kevin first.
Yeah. So for me, you're going to carry, one of these. You need to make sure you also have one of these. So this is my mobilized rescue systems. And inside of this thing is majority of what you will need to deal with any kind of major trauma. So we got, I got chest seal, pressure dressing, quick clot, tourniquet, obviously, glasses, face shield. I got a heat blanket in this damn thing. Like everything that you're going to need to save somebody. If you're going to, and I don't pretend to be a medical professional, but my career, I had to know basic medicine. And even in your everyday life, I just, when I buried my grandpa a few months ago, one of his children had a seizure, at the funeral. And and I was standing there, and it took me, and he still says now, if it weren't for you, I'll probably be dead. It took me to go, and that was at a funeral. That wasn't in you weren't thinking self-defense when you're burying your granddad, Right. You were in a totally different zone. But at the blink of an eye, him getting out the car, I was able to notice that something was wrong with his eyes. So instead of him falling and busting his head on the concrete, I was able to get to him because I was able to identify it. That only comes from training. Mm-hmm. So if you aren't training to save, if you're training to shoot people and not training to save them, you're doing it wrong. Because even every time you depress a trigger, you should be saving a life anyway, right? So train, and it's important.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's no different than I was having a conversation with somebody. So I got very light first aid training, shit like that. But y'all are way better at that shit than me. With that being the case, though, all of our classes, most of the classes, we'll have people that do that type of training. Same thing with the lawyers, same thing with the range, same thing with the instructors that come there and make themselves available. I was having a conversation about with a guy, and he was like, yeah, if the guy tried to rob me and if I shot him, what would be the point of me trying to save him? And I'm like, well, one, he could hit somebody that you with. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, even if I shoot somebody that was trying to just rob me or something, I'm going to defend my life. But at the same time, if I could keep them alive, especially depending on what city you in, is it a blue city? Is it a blue state? Is it an election year coming up? They might use you as the damn poster child for we're tough on crime, even though you defended your life. So to me, it's good to have that, just even if, okay, I've neutralized the threat, but at the same time, let me not let them die. So when the police come, my intent wasn't to kill him. I know dudes that caught a case for carrying, literally, the district attorney said he had too much gun. He had a bloodlust. So, you see what I'm saying? So It's like, all right, imagine if you shoot him and keep him alive and say, yeah, he was trying to do the thing. I was trying to defend my life, but clearly I saved his life. So I was just trying to neutralize that. So for several levels, I agree with that, and that's excellent. Hey, Sean, too, when you get out of this, email me like promo for that training, for this medical training stuff, so I can post that on social media.
Yeah, well, man, I'll send you the article and all this stuff. I think it's hugely important. I've spent a pretty large portion of my life focusing on this and making sure that people in my community are trained on it. I think it's hugely important. I think this is a great article, just because she kind of compares and contrasts. And Kevin, like you said, man, you were there at the funeral. No one got shot, but you were able to recognize and help until they got to the next level of care. And I think that's hugely important. So it's not just that. I mean, how many car accidents have we seen? How many, getting cut by dishes where it may be life threatening? The other day, I was literally breaking down boxes in my office and I cut the wrong direction and it slipped out and like literally just came seconds away from, cutting my arm. And if that would have happened, I mean, I've got tourniquets everywhere here. I probably would have been okay, but it's just stuff like that that makes me think, man, life is crazy. The world is crazy and everything is chaos. You just never know when bad things are going to happen to good people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Let's see. Let's move down just a little bit into the I'm offended segment. From the Comedy Files, Facebook is targeted for being too pro-gun. Okay.
What the fuck?
That's a weird flex. Okay. So Facebook has been criticized by a gun safety group for taking millions of dollars in advertising revenue to promote a legal loophole, in air quotes, that allows Americans to obtain concealed carry weapons permits without any physical training. So this is just basically a service that lets you get the Virginia concealed carry, which grants most people a couple of extra states of concealed carry that they can do. And Dave Chipman, a senior policy advisor at the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, said a company has choices to make to look if it's in the interests of their company to support people carrying guns that haven't been trained to use them. And it's because Virginia has no skill clause in their concealed carry. You can get one just by taking a class, whether it's online or in person or whatever. You never have to go to the range. And it's the same in Colorado. We don't have to go to the range and qualify or anything. We just have to take a course that is based on an approved curriculum, and NRA is an approved curriculum in Colorado. So, this is just dumb. Like this is completely legal, 100% legal. And they don't want Facebook to take money for that advertising. It's just ridiculous. Maj, what do you think?
I think they're doing the same thing a lot of the bigger designer, like European fancy clothes people are doing. I think they're just saying the thing that they know is out far left to get people to talk about it so they can get more of the market share of people that wasn't aware of their company from the gate. I don't even know. I never heard of this company before. I don't know who they is. But to me, if you're saying that Facebook is, in essence, too pro-gun.
I know.
Clearly, you're telling me that you're not aware of serious issues on the biggest website on the planet. And with that being the case, to me, it's like there's no way. It's either you're that stupid, and I doubt that highly, or it's a strategy to get people to get your recognition of that. And we're bigger than fighting up. I'm gonna attack somebody that's the big guy. The big guy's gonna promote me by saying, "Look at these guys talking about we're pro-gun." And the other thing is, the ramifications of that is that company still goes, okay, well, let's even close more avenues for people to say we are pro-gun. By like what they doing with us. They don't even take money from us no more to promote our classes across Facebook. Like we started switching out like my hashtags. I've been shadow banned for over a year on all of the social media platforms. Instagram is Facebook. Yeah. So I think it's that. I think that's what they're doing. There's no way that they truly believe that Facebook is that. They're saying some things. I'm willing to bet that company has somebody that's, even if it's a private company, right? At a certain point, that person that runs that's in alignment with that is probably going to jump into the public sector pretty soon. I'm willing to bet that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I agree. Kevin?
I think that it's funny as hell. First of all, I can't. You're talking about they want to say a company, Facebook is reckless because they're too pro-gun because they're allowing training to be promoted that doesn't require, a cert to be given that doesn't require training. That's funny because I run a pretty damn good training program. And one of the things that we give is concealed carry training. And I get this little notification whenever I post a class that says, this post is not available for boosting, right? It tells me right off the bat, don't think about it. Don't even hit the button. You're lucky we letting you post this, right?
Right.
So it's funny that they would come out and say that when it's stupid, man. And I think that's one of those things to where that guy or that company, whoever said that, is just trying to tell Facebook, do what we want you to do, how we want you to do it, or we're going to talk crap about you. The thing about it though is, one thing I always say, depends on how much money Facebook is getting for it. If they getting compensated enough for it, they might say, well, all right, you're just gonna have to be mad. You know, we're not gonna give you any attention. But if they feel like they can make more money, which I don't know how Facebook can make more money off of people that don't support guns, because they already got all of them, then they'll be in the fold. But I don't know. That dude, whoever said that, I will say this. In my professional opinion, he's a moron.
Right. Right.
Also, my unprofessional opinion is that he's an idiot.
Right.
You know, Maj, I think they heard you, because people are actually threatening to shoot other people. It just so happens it's anti-gunners, and they're threatening to shoot sheriffs in Washington for not enforcing I-1639. So they
should shoot. See how that works out for you. You anti-gun, you ain't even have a fucking gun.
See how it goes. Yeah, because, you know, all the sheriffs came out. They said, look, we're not going to enforce any of this stuff from I-1639. And they've been getting all kinds of threats and other stuff saying that the sheriffs are going to get a bullet to the skull. That's the exact quote. Sheriff Knezovich is going to get a bullet in his skull. And yeah, so, you know, I don't know, Antifa or what.
The feel that though, but that goes to the point. It's not us saying it. It's the left has done an amazing job. I give them credit, man. It's, again, a phrase that I use all the time is the beautiful ugly. It's something that the precision of it, the calculated nature of it, when you're watching it and you step back, it's beautiful. The intent, or what the intended outcome is something that's probably ugly. This is the other side. The guys that are talking no gun, we've been so good, we're the party of peace, we're the party of inclusion, da-da-da-da. You don't do what we say we want, they go to violence. That is a part of the makeup. So we, the respectable people, fighting against people, if they had the gun, though, I believe that those guys would do it.
Well, France has already showed us recently that they are more manly than United States when they basically took over a gas tax. We're getting it hit pretty hard and still just sitting on our couches.
We are in a space where our elected officials is pushing for openly. Well, maybe the socialism shit isn't so bad. At the same time that people are in bread lines in Venezuela. Like, that's where we at now. And if you say you're gonna get, if I can't see what's happening in the chat, but somebody, oh, that guy's he's going too far. That's where we at with it. Which makes me go, again, conspiracy theorists to a degree. Why all American media have been making fun of France for 50 years? But they, for everything, oh, those French, those guys are so soft, such and such and such. Nah, man, there's something to that. There's something to that. But if that's how they feel, first and foremost, you go ahead. You go ahead and try to shoot a sheriff if you want to. See if they don't shoot the shit out you. That's just what's going to happen.
Evan?
What state was that in the last month or so where that Antifa guy went to that school and had a gun on him and the cops wound up shooting him?
Oh, man. I think it was Washington. I'll try to look it up.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, Antifa. So here's my thing with them. One, you know, I disagree with their political motivations, especially with the violent part. But here's the thing about Motifa. They are the most obvious mole there is, right? Mm-hmm. And I say that because Antifa chooses to use guns, right? Well, if they're about gun control, but they're going to use guns in an idiotic form, they are helping people understand or believe that gun control is necessary. Mm-hmm. So they are the biggest mole there is, and they're so obvious. They're like, okay, well, we're going to take guns. We're going to act crazy with them, right, to help get your guns taken away. We don't care about losing ours for real. We don't care. We just want you to lose yours. So they'll go out there and they'll say outlandish things like that. They are the sacrificial lamb for that side of the political agenda to help take guns away. Right. So that's what they are. To me, they are, and their little threat as far as, you know, directly as far as they're going to shoot the sheriff. Where I come from, you threaten to shoot the police, there's a consequence.
They coming. You said you're going to shoot the police.
Yep.
They coming.
They are. They'll be there. It was Eugene, Oregon, by the way.
Eugene, okay.
Where that happened.
And he was trying to kill those cops.
Yeah, but it's some, as we all know, it's some shooters. Them dudes in Oregon get busy. They some shooters over there.
That guy, he was really good at taking bullets, not so good at dishing them out though.
Yeah, but Antifa, what did he fired 2 shots into the school though?
That guy in Eugene, no, so he was in the school. He was a prohibited person, wasn't allowed to pick up his kid. Cops came in, they started pushing him outside. He drew the gun. I don't believe he even got a shot off because he was actually dead before that even happened.
Oh, so he didn't have a sub-second draw from the appendix?
I know how sexy they are, but he did not have a sub-second appendix draw on the cop. It's so weird. It's like they don't practice or anything. Right. I keep seeing all these articles where they're getting like Marines to train them in some. I'm like, what, eating crayons? Come on. Just kidding, Marines. You know, I love you, Department of the Navy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the stories because I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple things. So both of you at SHOT Show released some signature guns. I wanted to hear both of you guys talk about those, and then we'll talk about the rest of the stuff that you're doing. But Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Let Maj start that off. I can slide over here and get one of them.
All right, Maj, start it off.
Yeah, it's an AR platform with head down arms. I just wanted something that was kind of like in a decent price range, and I wanted to make the hood to start getting rifles instead of just handguns. So to me, it was like, what company can we get with that is in alignment with the work that we're doing, as well as that would meet that price point. I initially, foolishly, thought about having that conversation with Marty Daniel from Daniel Defense. And you know what I'm saying? And I was like, one, that's not going to be in my hood's price range. That's number one as a beginner. But then head down arms down in Dallas, Georgia, about 40 minutes right outside of Atlanta. I had some, relationships with some people over there, we got it going. The biggest thing for them was the thing that me and Kev talked about in another interview was, is this company aware of what actually I'm doing? Is this not just well, Maj got a following, we know we can sell some guns, so for the someone, we'll give him a kickback, blah, 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 blah. If it's not one of those, then I could listen to him. And that was a company that was with it. And, they put money up like, look, yeah, we hear you on like, we'll make a gun. We'll have the, that rifle. But bigger than that was the mission. And that is the part that I want people to see as far as gun community is concerned. It's called gun community. Like it's a community. You know what I'm saying? And if they're willing to be in alignment with the thing, especially with a lot of the wild shit I be saying. So if they willing to kind of like, they know that it's coming from a genuine place of our freedoms are not being preserved. And they willing to say, okay, you going into places and some of your classes might have felons to come get the safety component. The felons, not the range, because we're not actively saying, hey, go break the law right now. But that company understood that. And so, it's a rifle. It's $11.99. It's on a website, as to not sound salesy, but bigger than the sell for me as far as the gun was just two things. One, getting with a company that understood the price point, because for the demographic that I'm, reaching out to, as well as them getting behind that overall mission. And that to me is bigger than, the actual rifle, because obviously you could get a $3,000 or you might build or whatever. If you got the money, you could do that. But to lean towards a group of people that aren't even in my demographic, they think it begins and ends with a handgun. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, cuz that's not, the picture of Malcolm by the window was it's a rifle. You know what I'm saying? And so them understanding that was really big. Shouts to them head down arms over there. I've been shamelessly plugging them ever since. You know what I'm saying? But and the fact that when I went to their actual facility, bigger than, okay, I've been to Daniel Defense's new spot. That shit, it looked like NASA in there. You know what I'm saying? They have good people and all of that, but this is a smaller company and it got that family vibe to it. And I think those are things that are very essential behind movements, to make sure that people understand that this is creating and building a company that supports jobs for the community, as well as, we get what this mission is. We're not one of them companies that's like, we'll sell them to militaries and we'll sell them to, to law enforcement, but we don't think that the general public should have them. Because I met them. There are CEOs of these bigger gun, and I'm not saying that's Marty Daniel. I mean, whatever he do is what he do. What I'm saying is there are companies and guys that I've met that are like that. They're not freedom people. I'm just telling you. I mean, they make a cake, they make a ton of money, but they're not freedom people. I didn't get that vibe from Adam and that squad over there, and that was one of the main reasons that we went with them. And it's called the Solutionary Rifle. Y'all go ahead down arms. I'm not telling y'all none of the specs on purpose, because I want y'all to go to their website. I want y'all to go purchase the firearm. I want y'all to see, is he putting out a piece of shit just for the demographic because they I want you to go see that. And I welcome, because that's the area where I know the gun community will not fail me. They will, if it's a piece of shit, they will tell you immediately. And we ain't had one bad review yet. So,
Very cool. So they support the mission, like you said. The price point, I mean, as far as ARs go, you got like the bottom end of the spectrum, and then you got the top end of the spectrum. You're definitely, I mean, we'll say the bottom end is like maybe $400 for just some kit that you can buy and put together yourself. We'll say the upper end of that spectrum is $4,000 to $5,000. I've got a $4,000 AR, and you're $1,100. I think you're closer to that bottom end of the spectrum. Plus, it supports Black Guns Matter. But Maj, the question I've got for you, man, it's not a black gun.
Well, no, it is and it's not. It's coming. It's two colorways.
I've been waiting like 3 weeks to say that shit.
Right. Like, what are you doing? Your branding is off, Maj. What the hell?
No, it's awesome. It looks good. And headdownarms.com, is that what it is, or headdown.com?
Head down. Go follow them on Twitter, Instagram, y'all. I know on Instagram it's Head Down Arms. Good stuff.
Now, Kevin, talk about yours.
Well, let me say that rifle was tight. I haven't got a chance to shoot it yet, but the tolerances were tight. Went a lot of wiggle room between the upper and the lower, which is always a great sign. So, looking forward to shooting that thing. We'll have it in a couple of months at the media event we got going on here, and run some rounds through it. I did like the Cerakote job though. That Cerakote was laid on right.
Yeah,
it really was. Cerakote was laid on the right way. So what I wanted to do when I decided to release a pistol, the first thing I wanted to do with any company I worked with, doing it, because obviously I don't have machines in my basement to cut all this stuff away. I can design it as a shooter, as an instructor, and as a gun enthusiast. But I wanted to make sure that the product represented me and who I am and what I stand for, bigger than anything. And on top of that, I refuse, and hear me clearly, I refuse to do business with a company, even if my private consumer dollars, that is not understanding of what I do and does not. Bigger than that, if you flat out don't support it, and I don't mean you have to give me money or give me stuff, just in conversation, if you're like, oh, well, yeah, whatever. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm not going to trash you, but I will not promote you.
Right.
I just won't do it because we need people to get into the fight. And so when I decided to do this, I wanted to work with companies that understood the value of Americans being educated and the value of Americans embracing their right, and it being a diverse pool of Americans that do that. So that's my disclaimer. So when I start mentioning these are companies that I work with that have great American values and understand that we need America to be stronger. But as far as I go, designing a gun was kind of the easy part because I've been shooting guns for a long time. I know what I want as a shooter. I know what I don't like. I know what I do like, and I know what will help people from being an instructor, will help them perform better. So that was kind of the easy part. The hard part was when I was thinking about the firearm. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a gun. Okay, cool. Guns rock. But who are you? You always say you're just not a gun dude. You're more than that, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I emulated that with the gun. So roughly about a year ago, I said, yeah, we're gonna when I was going through this, I said, yeah, I'm gonna shake things up. I'm gonna make the first gun that fights gun control. That's what I'm gonna do. And so what we have here, before I even show you the gun, which is awesome, we have the case that it ships in, which you cannot buy. So please stop inboxing me. You cannot buy these separately. I'm a bit of a businessman. All right. So, you're not getting these separately.
Just sell me the cutout. I don't want the gun type vibe.
Nah, you ain't getting that. So the first one here is, I don't know if you guys can see that well, but the first one here says Black Wall Street. All right. And then you have the cutout of your gun, and you have a quote from me in there. And below that, I wanted the case to talk to the purchaser every time they moved it. So when you open the lid, more than 80% of Americans have no idea what that is, what Black Wall Street is. And the reason I say they're the first series of guns to fight gun control is if you knew this story, you would definitely want your guns to be protected. It's an American story that is tragic, right? So education is going to lead people to a platform where they can say, hold on, well, if that happened, what else happened? Well, how did that happen? What laws were in place? It starts the dialogue. When you pick the main portion up, even when you get to the bottom, we're giving you more of a history lesson of exactly what occurred and what happened down there. So we're going to give you the stats of the amount of people that were killed, businesses destroyed, how it happened, and everything else. We're going to walk you through it. So the case opens dialogue. You are just not opening another gun case. You are just not opening another firearm. You are going through history and understanding why gun control is bad. And I'm saying some pretty interesting things in here. I'll read this one to you. I know we don't have that much time. But in this cutout, it even says to you, gun laws are based in hatred and racism. Historical moments like Black Wall Street will expose lies and make non-believers conform to the truth. Right? And when we say gun control is racist, I tell people all the time, talking points don't get my attention. You have to be able to explain something down to the minute detail for me to take you serious. And I meet anybody on any playing field that wants to have a discussion about this incident or others, and we can actually have a conversation. So that's one of the cases. Now, the part that a lot of other people care about, which I do as well, is you couldn't, let's be real. And I know this show is always casual, so let's be 100. And Maj, I know you felt this too, and I know Ken did, and pretty sure New War did. Yeah, but what you putting out though, because we don't know if yours is gonna stand up to what we used to.
Yeah.
You know, you put it out, so you know, is it really gonna be quality? You know, we wonder. So yeah, I'm bringing you one of the best pieces of machinery you're ever going to shoot. So the original platform on this guy is the HKBP9. I won't bore you with all the specs. That's what going over to the website and all that and pre-orders is going to do for you. However, the small details like making sure we stipple up the back strap on this, you're going to also, your back panels and your swells also come stippled in the box. So if you want to change them out for different hand sizes, you get the same uniformity. We did obviously we went with a Lobos Industries trigger there to give you an aluminum flat face trigger. We actually shaved out more of the canal at the bottom of the trigger, or at the top of the trigger guard rather. Put support reference at the bottom of the trigger guard. The weight that we took out of the slide here to do the machining, all the weight that was taken out for guys who are like, oh, press checks and you're going to mess up the sickle rate. No, we didn't. It was balanced perfectly to make sure we didn't have to touch the internals of the gun. Therefore, everything you have is easy to get. It's not proprietary. We didn't want that to happen where, 10 years from now, it's time to replace some naturally worn out part and you can't find it. Wanted everything to be as natural as it can for long-term maintenance. Nothing's going to happen in the first couple of years unless you're running tens of thousands and thousands of rounds. You might have to replace a spring or something, but we wanted that stuff to be easy to find. So all your internals are the same. Your slide is weighted just right, even with the window cuts and the coffin cut. It's weighted just right, and all your serrations for guys that like to do press checks from different angles, whatever you like to do, all your serrations are double the depth than they come out of the box, factory on the original platform. Double the depth to give you that purchase, so much so you can put this gun on the side of your jeans and just with the serrations run the slide. All right.
I like that.
The bevel cut in the front, we're making sure that you have a place there to do one-handed manipulations off of hard surfaces, and a couple other gadgets and gadgets. Heine suppressor height sights. On this one, I decided to go with the Vortex Venom 6 MOA for close quarter. If you want, close quarter fighting, 3 MOA is fine. I just prefer the 6. And then the M-Force APL. And I will say this, that's pretty much the rundown of the gun. Oh, we have a silencer coat barrel in this guy as well. Excuse me. And the gun runs, performs. And one thing I can say is that this gun has been through the hands of some of the best shooters in the country, and they all gave it a thumbs up, right? So that's what I wanted to do, is give you an awesome piece of machinery that is educating and facilitating why you should be fighting gun control. And then in case you ever have to fight, you have the right platform to do it as well. So that's exactly what this guy is. And for the companies involved, that whole disclaimer I gave at the beginning, big shout out to Vortex, big shout out to Enforce, big shout out to Lobos. Also, the foam work was done by Carolina Custom Foam. Go give them some support. That guy is awesome. The machining was done by J&L Machining out of Idaho, and go give them some support. And the beautiful Cerakote work, stippling work, framework was all done by Wayne Hammer with MLS Customs. And make sure you go give them some work. So we jumped in and put out this beautiful piece of machinery, condition 1 cases as well. Everybody, and I'm going to be very, very honest about this. Anybody knows that when you are upstarting any project, it costs money, right? It costs a lot of money. All these companies donated everything to say, you got a vision, we're behind the vision, we're not waiting another year, what do you need?
That's right.
And we were able to get this thing off the ground a lot sooner than even I expected. And then real quick, I won't have to go over the machinery. We get to the second case. This one, I'll take this guy out for a second. This one here is talking about the Underground Railroad. All right. More Americans are going to know the history behind this one a little bit. They'll at least know it by name, if nothing else, right? They'll know it by name. Here we have in the details, I can't get it really close to the camera there, but there's a slave catcher actually chasing the slaves. You got 20 birds up there representing 5,000 freed souls per bird, because there were roughly 100,000 individuals that escaped. The North Stars in the design. There's a lot going on in that design. And this is the rough draft. The final version is awesome. This one's a little beat up from SHOT Show. Even down here, you can see the family still running through the marsh because they're running for freedom. All right. Inside of your gun cutout, that says, I am gun control's worst nightmare because I'm the inconvenient black truth. That's what that says. And I'm going to stand on that. And you can pluck black out and put whatever you like in there, but I'm going to stand on what I said. Down here, you have a quote from the great Harriet Tubman, and you can see the slave inside the slave collar, and it says, I have seen hundreds of escaped slaves, but I've never seen one that was willing to go back and be a slave. And like I tell everybody, don't get it twisted. This is a black story, right? At the same time, it's an American story. So all they care about now, only difference is with that collar is it doesn't give a damn what color the slave is. It'll stick you in there, it'll stick me in there. It doesn't care, right? So we have to make sure that we're understanding what happened. And a big thing that people don't know about the Underground Railroad, like, okay, that sounds cool, but what does that really have to do with guns? Outside of the fact that the conductor, Harriet Tubman, had a firearm and was very, very known for carrying it, people fail to realize that it was a guy named Moses Dixon that started that network. Was not started to free slaves. That network was started by 6 men and went to 47,000 men with British support and sympathizers in America to fight the Confederates. That's what that was for. Civil War broke out, and so they said, well, let them two fight it out. We're going to chill back here, right? Few of them got rambunctious and did some things, but most of them chilled out. They said, well, you know what? While they're distracted and while they're fighting and they're low, why don't we go ahead and just start freeing the slaves? So they got conductors like Harriet Tubman, and they used their sympathizers, started using safe houses and things like that. And they used that network that was meant for war, and they used it for a retreat for the slaves to escape. Now, what people fail to realize is there were 47,000 illegally armed men that took up arms, armed black men that took up arms and was knocking slave catchers' heads off when they came chasing them. So, yeah, slavery was a legal thing, but there were people that realized, no, we're not playing that game. We're trained. We got the artillery. We don't care who sent it, Britain or whoever else. We got the artillery we're going to use to provide it. That's why the Underground Railroad became so popular, because it was easier to wait for people to get settled, think that they're safe, and go kidnap them and take them back into slavery versus running up across these 47,000 plus men that were trained to fight you. So that's why that kind of history is important. And then here we have the compact version. This is the SK. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of it. It's the same as the full size. It's just smaller. The biggest difference with this guy is actually compensated to help the gun run flat. And no, these just aren't compensated cuts cut into the barrel, and you're getting a bunch of muzzle rise and flip, and that's not even what compensation does. I don't know where these internet engineers come from, but what I will what I will say is I purposely put up a video of this gun being shot, not by me, by a guy that's been shooting guns for a few years, but not a long time, doesn't proclaim to be a instructor, doesn't have, any expert, anything. He shot this gun and I recorded it, unedited, and this gun ran flatter than most handguns you see on the market today. Period. In the video, the evidence is out there. So I wanted people to understand not only we're going to put out great guns, you can put this quality up against anything else you break out the box, and I'll stand by it. So that's what they are. The Truth series of pistols.
I want to talk to something that Kev just said, a few things. Most YouTube men know more about guns than me. Period. Simple and plain. The biggest thing that I want people to take away from what Kev just said was the educational component, outside of the fact that the gun flat, period. You know what I'm saying? It shoot flat. All of that other stuff, that's great, right? The mechanics of the firearm, the quality. Look at your own bias in there. Why wasn't I informed about, Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad? Why is this person, why is this story, why are these stories not right in league with the stories about Patrick Henry, right in league with the stories about, T-Pain, right in league with that? Because there's been a deliberate attempt to keep those things separate. They don't want to say the general public of all different, ethnicities that are all American. They don't want to make that story available. There's too much power in that. And the other key point that you brought up was, it's the same like tool. They always use the same tool, which is let's make these people over here. The fact that someone would even think, oh, well, let me make sure that because these guys are putting out firearms, is it going to stand up the same level of test and scrutiny? You know what I'm saying? That's a certain level of bias that you got to ask yourself. If you thought that from the gate, I just don't care about explaining it, because I'll just send you to the people that actually made the gun and go, all right, get you a T&E one and shoot it yourself, and you come up with your own, factual, whatever. But I mean, it's important that what we were missing philosophically in the gun community and the freedom community was the concept that where our bias is lying. Like you said, these men were 47,000 they were felons. Yep. That's a felon. You know what I'm saying? Like, how dare we, we throw these scarlet letters on, different ethnicities in America based on this tool that is something that America wouldn't even exist if not for, or she at least wouldn't be as strong if not for that firearm. So I want everybody to really, really key in on what he's talking about. He's talking about Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street was a thriving community, a thriving American community that happened to be Black, right? When Rosewood, another one you brought up a couple of nights ago, there were over 60 of these types of cities in America that were systematically destroyed. And we ain't even got to go way far back. We could fast forward to my city, Philly, in 1985, 30 years, how many years ago. They dropped a firebomb on a city, local government, literally from a helicopter, dropped a firebomb and burned down 2 blocks of livable, like these were inhabited. Then even before it even got to the firebomb, when the Move 9 people was just trying to do what they was doing in their own community, in their own houses, they blew that house up. And as women and children were running out, the local police department were shooting them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? These are things that is fucking tyranny. That's it. So my white dudes that have had that improper information or that education or that portion of American history of government, that part being left out, I want y'all to really hear what he's saying. You might not want to hear it from me because I'm a self-proclaimed, I'm not a gun dude like that. I'm not. With that being the case, though, you have to pay. You can't, you could try to ignore me. You're not going to ignore Kevin, what he just said. That is a man that has highly specialized decades of information training in on all of those things. So if you don't want to hear it from me, hear it from that brother as well. We have to make sure that we are unifying. You need to go buy that. Yeah, I got a rifle. Cool. You need to go buy a KD gun too. I want y'all to show pictures of the Infinity guns. You know what I'm saying? When they all combine, we could get rid of, the bullshitting with the snap of a finger. You know what I'm saying? I want you to go get the Provectus Elite. I want you to go get New War's Advocate. You know what I'm saying? I want when Argo J come out, his firearm come out. I want you to get that. I want you to go get Rob Pincus's PD-10. You know what I'm saying? These are things, man. These brothers is doing stuff. And yes, Rob Pincus, brother too. With that being the case, these are brothers that's doing, like, you go stand in line to get LeBrons. You stand in line to get Jordans and Kobe's. You stand in line to get the ticket to your favorite rock group. Why not go get something to support something with the mission from high-level gentlemen and women? We got to get a woman with a firearm. I'm not aware of one. Where's the woman with her own gun? Right. What the fuck is happening? So I really want everybody to zone in on that philosophically. We cannot, because we focus in so much on the study of the firearms and the mechanics that go along with it, we cannot lose the philosophical understanding of what these tools represent. So that's my, like Kevin said, that's my little soapbox for the minute, bro. Y'all really got to hear that. Y'all got to hear that.
I love it, man. I love it. And I think that you guys, I'm so thankful to call you guys friends and to be in the industry at the same time as you guys, and to have a place where thousands of people can hear what you just said. I think it's super important. I always look forward to seeing you guys, and both guns, all 3 guns, very well done. Super impressed. I got nothing else to say, man. Kevin, where can people find your gun and everything that you do?
I got one other thing to add to what Maya said. First of all, what he said was eloquent and beautiful. And second of all, understand this. If your mission, and hear me and stop listening with bias, if your mission is to win, if that is your goal, to win, to promote liberty, freedom, it's to win. First, understand the difference between allies and friends. You need them both. All right. But understand that difference. You can disagree with somebody and they still be your ally. Mm-hmm. That being said, when you are trying to get people in this country riled up, and I'll just speak for this example. It's not the only horrible story, but I'm just going to pick this one out. When you are speaking to 13 to 16% of this country, right, about their gun rights, or you're trying to get educated, you need to realize and understand 1776 doesn't resound with everybody. In 1776, we weren't even human, right? Yeah. So you can't ask me or ask a people to gravitate towards something that didn't even recognize their value on the planet. That is not genuine. It's not going to work. Now, granted, you will definitely get some people that will, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm telling you that doesn't connect. But when you can start having real conversations about Black Wall Street, about Philly, about Rosewood, when you can start really having East St. Louis riots, when you can really start having those kind of conversations, you might be the individual to educate people on that. They'll gravitate toward that. They'll start to understand it. You need to stop telling people 1776 and Moon and Lade. You know, why are you trying to get me to understand what a Spartan said? I'm trying to get to understand why I should care about it, right? So change up your delivery and get knowledge, right? And I'm happy to say, as much as we challenge and try to grow America, and then I'm going to answer your question, Sean, I haven't even started the official pre-sale of these guns. And one thing I can give applause to is that I already sold more of these with people that were refusing to wait. I already sold more of them than I set out to sell at all.
Love it.
You know what I mean? So, and was that number huge? No, my original number was very, very modest, and people were like, "No, absolutely not," and they exceeded it. And what Shasha was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. So within less than 30 days, I did what I thought I was going to do in a year and a half. You know, so that's good. So to answer the question, I just want people to hear that, because I know a lot of times people can start listening and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," because they're talking freedom, but these still are just black dudes. And I know Ma just heard it, and I've heard it a million times. I get so tired of these real patriots. They come to me and they ask me questions, and they'll always mention, "Well, that's cool that you only they isolated. You only bring that inner city experience." Man, you are lucky I'm on your side, because if I was on the opposite side, I would demolish you. Guns would be gone. They would be gone, right? You are lucky that I believe in freedom, because some of the idiotic things that come out of your mouths, oh my goodness, you can't do that. You are isolating, and trust me, when you leave somebody in the dark long enough, somebody gonna find them, and you better, it ain't gonna be you, it's gonna be somebody else, and they're gonna use their power for evil. Be careful with that. But that being said, where can you find the truth? So you will keep up with my Instagram at NOC Firearms Training. And speaking of that, you can follow me on all the major platforms at the same thing, NOC for No Other Choice Firearms Training. You can also find our website at nootherchoice.net. If you are looking for information about the truth, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Pre-orders will be available. And if you follow my social media, you are going to be flooded with that information. That pre-order site will be up at the end of the month. You'll be flooded with that information and where to go find it. So just track me on all the social medias. If you cannot wait, if you're like, "Nope, I refuse to let that ride, I want one right now," all you have to do is send an email to NOC for No Other Choice, CCW, NOCCCW@gmail.com, and title your email, "I want the truth." That's all you have to do. And then I'll send you all the information. And if you want to get going, we can get you going. And as far as everything else I got going on, if you want to be involved, GoFundMe.com/aiming for the truth. I know we didn't talk about that, but go look up Aiming for the Truth if you guys want to know more information about it. It's an awesome program. You can look on Instagram at Aiming for the Truth. Just look that up on Instagram as well, for you can see a lot of the back history of the work that's being done. And if you feel it in your heart to make a donation, awesome. If you want to become a Patreon and support some of the work of Aiming for the Truth and the mission of No Other Choice in general, please go over to patreon.com/NOC Firearms. And I'm there as well. And I hope to interact and engage and have civil discourse that builds more strength and more muscle for us all to an ultimate fight.
I love it. Kevin, can you do me a favor for anyone who emails you, "I want the truth"? Can you just email them back first and say you can't handle the truth?
Oh, dude, don't spoil my funny video I got coming out, man.
Maj, where can people find everything you're up to?
Instagram, Twitter, Maj Toure, MAJTOURE at Maj Toure. We got to go fund me these classes. We got a class in a few days in Boston. All of our classes are free. All of our classes, if you're a person that you're a beginner, this room right here might not have many beginners in it as far as like the chats and everything. I know it's a lot of gun women and gunmen in here. But if you know some beginners that, even if they're not from your walk of life, that's how we're going to, expand this thing. The classes are free to those beginners. We are entry level. We plug people with the people in your city that you don't know about. So many times you go to ranges and the range has been there for 20 years. And people that lived in the neighborhood for 25 years are like, oh, I didn't even know this was here. So we on that. GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter. Yeah, and just hit me up. Email us. Let's talk. Also, I want to make sure that everybody on the mental component, because, Kev said something that made me think about something else. If you just want to chop it up, man, you got shit going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, hit me up. There's a great organization called Walk the Talk America. If you want to do some anonymous, not like sending your, DNA or some shit like that, just do an anonymous screening of, I think I got PTSD. Hop on a website, do stuff like that. But for the most part, getting in contact with me, if you need any of those things, I'll make myself available to you. I don't really sleep like that. That's why I got bags under my fucking eyes. You know what I'm saying? But whatever, man. If you want to chop it up, if you want to talk, if you want to support, get at me on social media. I'm usually, I got my phone somewhere close by. So, but bigger than that too, man. Fuck that. Go support We Like Shooting, the things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, so Sean has had me on a few times. I don't know how many now at this point. There's guys that I get shitted on in the internet world and the interwebs all of the time. There's a few platforms that are like, yeah, well, we don't give a fuck what rumor you heard. I see what work he's doing, and you guys over at We Like Shooting have been one of those few platforms that have done that. There's a few guys like Adam Kraut that have been supportive, came to my home years ago that, I like the mission. I want y'all to find those gentlemen and those gentlewomen and get behind them as well. This is only, we could lose, bro. Like, we could lose. We need all hands on deck. So please support those organizations, podcasts, cut down on some of your fucking bacon money and your beer money, and like put some money to like shit. Like hold
on a minute.
You know what I'm saying? And just support these women and men, man. We all in this together, and we gonna get free together. We gonna all taste that victory of champagne together. That's the only way we gonna really get to do it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, guys, go check out everything that they're doing. You can go ahead and mark this one down as my favorite twig of all time. This show is produced by Kenny Ortega and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network, and we will talk to you very soon.